Is it possible to build a profitable law firm without sacrificing the legal team's work-life balance? Our guest says yes. Attorneys can have a life outside of the firm, and we'll share how she's scaling her law practice while maintaining a healthy culture for her team. Stay tuned for the Startup Life live show. Let's glow. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Startup Life live show. I'm your host, Ande Lyons, 4 times founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I now share founders' startup stories to help newly minted business owners find the solutions and inspiration they need to succeed. And I am personally thanking you genuinely for tuning in and upping your founder game while cheering on a fellow founder. You don't know. You might hear a resource, a solution, or learn about a new tool, or just have a good old-fashioned aha moment that will help you with your new business. If you're joining us live today, please say hello in the comment threads. And those of you who are tuning in via replay, be sure to say hello in the comments and ask any questions, because we can always come back and answer any questions that you have. If you would like to receive an alert whenever I post a new show, here's how you do it. You join the Startup Life Live meetup group. You're going to go to bit.ly/Startup Life Live. Live is in all caps, or scan that QR code for those viewing the video, and you'll receive an alert whenever I post a new show. And this is the 99th episode. 100 is coming up, so we're pretty excited about that here at the Startup Life Live show. As you watch this video, it would be wonderful if you were to click the like button and share your like love wherever you're watching. You know, we're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. And what happens when you click that like button, it goes out to your community, whoever they may be, and they might see something on this show that will add value to their journey. So you have a ripple effect with that like love. So thank you so much. And if you are watching via YouTube, I would be grateful for your subscribe, hitting that subscribe button, and of course the bell icon to receive an alert whenever I go live. It just really helps us reach more founders, and it helps us maximize the joy and minimize the heartache from startup life journeys around the world. And if you resonate with the show's mission of amplifying diverse founders' voices while serving first-time founders around the world, please reach out to me to learn more about making an impact through sponsoring the Startup Life Live show. Okay, so I'm ready to introduce you to this extraordinary founder, because let me tell you, launching a law firm, that is a whole new ball of wax, as they say. And our guest is the founding partner of CGL LLP, and her name is Genton. And in 2017, Hannah and her founding partner, Noem Cohen, launched CGL, a fully distributed law firm. We're going to talk about what that means, focused on disrupting the legal industry by providing top quality legal services combined with true work-life balance for attorneys. No, this is not an oxymoron, folks. The firm has doubled revenue every year and has clearly demonstrated it's possible to achieve lofty business and revenue goals without creating attorney burnout. Mind blown. Okay, so I'm so excited to hear Hannah's startup stories, and let's bring her into the room. Welcome to the Startup Life Live show, Hannah.
Thank you. It's great to be here today.
Hey, listen, I've got to just say a shout out to you, because folks tuning in and mamas, mama founder goddesses, this woman is 37 weeks pregnant and she's still showing up, talking about her business, and frankly, looks outstandingly gorgeous, glowing goddess. Wowza.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, congratulations on, getting this far and, creating more value in your life with the birth of a beautiful baby around the corner. We are all in awe and wonder of you for sharing this. Where are you hailing today?
From Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, awesome. Hey, if anybody's watching live, share where you're hailing from so we can go, woohoo, and wave and cheer you on wherever you're hanging out. You know, before we get started and start pulling on threads from your startup journey, founders have to every day find something that they're grateful for, be excited about what is working. Where are you at in life? What are you really grateful today for, other than just feeling wonderful as a 37-week pregnant mama?
Yeah, I would say actually that. So this is my first child that I'm having since starting CGL.
Wow.
As I think you mentioned, this is my third. I've had two other babies, one of which I had while working at a big law firm in Silicon Valley. And I'm really grateful for the difference in my maternity leave plan this time around versus my last experience, because I feel like my maternity leave this time around, it'll be different because I'm a business owner. So I don't think you fully ever step out, but the way that CGL works is it really is fluid with my life. And so I'm just incredibly grateful to be able to welcome my daughter to the world with full presence while still kind of being tuned into my business that's at an exciting kind of growing time.
Exactly. And as you recall what it was like with the first two, because it becomes a blur, you'll be able to add additional benefits or a deeper understanding to women who go on to have families under the umbrella of your law firm. Yes?
Exactly. So each of the kind of the three core partners, I'm the third of us to have a baby since starting CGL. So each of us has learned maternity leave through kind of the other leaving. And I think that we're really improving our process at the firm. And it's been a great learning experience for each of us to go through it.
Oh, that's great. And I'm just going to say a quick howdy do. Hey, Bren, how you doing? How is everything in Ottawa, Canada? And yes, I had a wonderful time hearing your interview of Justin from Equality MD. He's an amazing founder. Thank you for mentioning that. And Josh, how you doing? Waving right here in my hometown. How's it going? And Asia, thank you for tuning in. You're such a rock star, and you add value everywhere you glow. And I want to remind everyone that is tuning in, feel free to amplify your brand, pop your website URL, your one-liner, the name of your business into the comment threads, and I'll put it up here, and Hannah and I will celebrate you and your hard work in the world, because we're all here to cheer each other on. Founders, we got to stick together because nobody understands this journey like fellow founders, right? Okay, so Hannah, let's get into how you came up with this idea to launch your own law practice. And I say this because as much as the idea can be exciting, leaving payroll behind can be really scary. So I always want to know, what made you leave payroll behind, steady paycheck, and how did you, take that journey from working at a traditional law firm to wanting to create something that you knew could be a dynamic practice, legal practice, along with understanding and recognizing folks need to have work-life balance? I can't wait to hear how that transition happened. Please share.
Yeah, so this journey, I am a co-founder. So I did this with my co-founder. Her name is Noem, and Noem Cohen, and our journey kind of started in law school. So we had many interactions over the years. We really got closer studying for the bar exam, but ended up connecting at a much more deeply at a really important time. So I had just left my role at a very prestigious firm in Silicon Valley, and I was wrestling a lot with feelings about confusion about kind of my self-worth as a full-time mother. So I had my first son while working there. And
how many hours a week were you working there?
It's hard to know. I mean, in some weeks, the norm, I'd say my baseline was probably about 60 hours a week. I was also, that was the baseline. And then also commuting from San Francisco down to Palo Alto every day.
In a car?
In a car.
Yeah. So anybody who lives out there knows what you're doing in the car.
Exactly. I became a fan of podcasts and audiobooks for sure. But I had always really felt fulfilled by the intellectual challenges that come with that career in law. But I learned after having my first son that balancing kind of the involvement that I wanted to have in my children's lives with a successful career in big law, it wasn't feasible for me.
And what kind of law were you practicing?
All corporate. So kind of venture capital financing, that very Silicon Valley deal work.
Right. And still, 'cause criminal law can be so consuming and can create, more of the 80-hour weeks and more, right? And be tranches of incredible pressure and stress. Whereas corporate law, is that a little easier?
It's not the way that corporate law, and at least the work that I was doing, transactional work kind of comes in waves. And so when you're on a transaction, you are on that deal and you're working. I mean, we had regular calls at midnight for certain deals. And that's just standard practice.
Right. Especially if you're closing on a fund, folks, and getting all the investors in the line. I mean, you attorneys earn every penny IMHL.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. It was certainly a lot of work. And Noem was actually on a very similar journey. So she was at another Silicon Valley law firm, and she had left.
Yeah.
And so, we spoke regularly, and sometimes we commiserated about how we missed working as attorneys. At this point, we had both left, and we really acknowledged that being present with our families was also incredibly important to us. And we kind of had this realization that we were both craving the same thing.
Right.
And that was this way of practicing law that was intellectually stimulating in a more meaningful and humane way. And that for us was when that aha moment came. So if we were both struggling with this absence of options for balancing our family life and well-being with the legal practice, we thought, others must feel this way too. And so we started talking about starting our own firm that really prioritized that work-life balance.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm always thinking, for moms out there, you can probably relate to Glennon Doyle's comment, like one minute you are like overwhelmed by the babies in your life, and then bored out of your mind at the same time.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's this combination that is delicious, which is if you can have still that time when you can snuggle into their necks and kiss them crazy and all of that and be part of what they're doing, yet at the same time stay tuned in and turned on to what floats your boat, brings joy into your life, and makes your heart sing. So you came together and you said, okay, why don't we start a business? Like, who actually said those words?
So what actually happened is Noem reached out to me and said, hey, I'm kind of thinking about, law and going back to work. And I said, that's interesting. I just started polishing my resume and I hadn't even thought of doing anything on our own. I thought, okay, I'm going to find a freelance legal company or something where I can work for myself. It was really hard and there wasn't really anything that existed. And I was kind of sharing that with her, and she said, screw that. There are different words that she said, let's do it ourselves. And that was kind of this moment of like, oh my gosh, yes, let's do it ourselves. And so that's where it began, and we never turned back.
Well, and the good news is that you were able to LLP yourselves, right? Because you know how to do all the documents and get that all set up. And you knew the underlying legal issues that you would need and have a proper co-founder operating agreement set up. Or did you hire someone outside to manage that for you? Our start was different than the traditional plan, set things up properly. That's good to hear. What happened?
Well, we had clients before we opened the doors. Okay. And that came from the fact that when she and I decided, okay, we're going to do this, let's kind of take the temperature of the market and see if people would even hire, 2 ex-big law attorneys working from home. We had this mom tag, would clients even hire us? And so once we started going out and kind of taking the temperature and asking our network around, we had people that said, yes, and send me your engagement letter. I'm ready. I have work for you right away. And so we kind of hit the ground running and had clients before we had even really kind of formally opened. And so we played a big game of scramble and set things up, and we figured it out.
Excellent.
That part of it was very, as many founders, just very scrappy at first.
On the fly. But you know
Yeah.
what you did right from the beginning? That was so smart to prove your hypothesis that folks would want to hire two moms, attorneys who are good at what they do, but not under the umbrella of a name, a branded law firm, Kleiner Perkins, whomever, right? It's just so often people go with the Foley here we have here in Boston, some of the other ones here, Minslevin, and not go with somebody who's just starting out. Were there any concerns from folks at all about your ability to deliver, or they were like, we just want to work with you, let's go?
Yeah, fortunately, not really with the folks that we started working with. I think that our past experience really was a good factor. We had strong brands just based on where we had worked previously. So many people were interested in that brand and even saying, I've always wanted to work. So I was at a firm called Cooley. I've always wanted to work with a Cooley attorney, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out or something. So they were able to get access to that brand right away.
Yeah, because they could see that you were at a big law firm and now you were hanging out your own shingle and bringing value that way. And also you now, as two women attorneys and two moms, you had to set the tone for the culture. You had to say, okay, so what don't we want to do? How did you start to define what a typical day was going to look like, or week, or month, or quarter, based on what you didn't want to have happen, like you had at the last places, at the traditional law firms?
Sure. So it's different. I think that's one key piece about CGL to understand is it's not one size fits all for the firm. Each partner, each attorney, each member of our support staff, everyone has a different definition of what balance is to them. And also, as we're constantly reminding people, balance changes regularly. What work-life balance is for me right now at 37 weeks pregnant is very different than what it was even a few months ago, and kind of constantly checking in on what that means for folks. We have folks that do work 60 hours a week and want to and enjoy that. I think so in terms of kind of very much supporting a culture on that, it's being very transparent with everyone. We speak about it often, the whole team. Leadership tries to walk that talk in terms of how we manage things. And we're very supportive of our team in terms of what they need, whether they're going on vacation or they want more time, they're homeschooling their children and they need more time to focus on that. And we try to just kind of build the business around our people because that's really what it is.
Oh my gosh, I hope people are tuning in and hearing this. It's okay to shift paradigms, folks, and tell a different story about how you can have a fruitful life, right? A life that feeds you instead of you having to work in order to live. I don't know. I can't remember that analogy. But anyway, Asia, this is a really great question. Josh Ford says, PI law here? What is that?
PI law, I think maybe you're referring to personal injury law.
Oh, yeah, that might be it.
Yeah, and we don't do any of that type of work at CGL. So CGL is a fully transactional law firm. So all corporate, kind of everything in the life cycle of a business is what we touch, from forming the company to selling the company and all the other pieces that happen in between. So no personal injury law here.
But Josh, there's no reason why because this isn't just a woman's issue. Men are evolving in such a way that they want this opportunity too. They, right, Hannah?
Yeah. I mean, when we started CGL, so part of really what lit the passion. So Noem and I started and we created something for ourselves, and then the workload became too much. She and I couldn't do it on our own. And so we hired our first contractor, and the woman was a single mom. And she rejoiced in coming in and said, I've been looking for something like this for so long. She's also an incredible attorney. And for us, we thought, oh my gosh, wait, this isn't about us. We can build this for so many other people. That's where like the real passion of CGL came. Right. we started, we thought, and we kind of wrongly assumed that most of the folks that were interested in working with us would be similar to us, moms who had left big law because they couldn't kind of juggle it. And wow, were we proven wrong. I would say the mom kind of contingent of CGL is actually the minority today. We have people from all different walks of life, whether they were ex-partners at big law firms who want something different. We have military spouses. We have people that are taking care of aging family members, people with disabilities. There's a whole different makeup.
Oh my gosh.
That, that was very humbling for us, that the traditional model wasn't working for them. Yet, mind you, all these people are brilliant attorneys with so much interest in still contributing to their kind of legal professional careers.
Oh my gosh, this is such a roadmap for all types of businesses. Again, we get caught up in this story that it has to be all hands on deck. And what you've been able to do is compile a pool of really smart, really savvy attorneys. And yet you're offering them, your differentiator is that you're offering them a life that doesn't include burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And as you've learned through bringing on different team members, is that they all have their different achievements, their different goals, their aspirations and responsibilities that require them to not have I've got to be 100% focused in order to reach partner, and the whole different track that is found in a traditional law firm, which makes your ability to attract, I imagine, a wonderful legal team much easier, because you have something that's very different from the traditional law firms, right?
Yeah, I would say, we're very fortunate in that there's a lot of people that leave traditional firms, a lot of very talented people, because they're looking for something different or because their life changes. We talk about this a lot at CGL. Life doesn't just go in this line. It doesn't work that way. Our lives are constantly changing. And so CGL as an employer, as a business, we try to understand that and respond to that and create space. We regularly have people that are moving across the country, or someone is ill, or things that happen that everyone is dealing with in life. We create an environment that supports people through those various life transitions. And the traditional work model can be quite rigid for folks who do have a life event that happens. And so for us, we are fortunate to benefit from the talent that leaves those other places, that is looking for more flexibility throughout their life.
I love that. So before I go on, I just want to understand fully distributed. What does that mean?
That means, so it's different from remote work, because remote implies that there is a headquarters somewhere, a physical headquarters. And then there are workers or employees who work remotely from the physical headquarters. Fully distributed means there are no headquarters anywhere. We are distributed remotely across the country. CGL has never had physical office space. We never intend to have physical office space. So our entire team works from their home, their remote co-working spaces, if that's what is of interest to them. But that's the difference.
Wow.
That's that, actually.
You taking that in, everybody? That was kind of new for me. I had to look that up.
Yeah.
Because that is a big difference from being remote. And you're absolutely right. Most offices have a headquarters, a mailing address, a place where some people have to show up physically. Mm-hmm. So as far as the law goes, if you're able to do corporate law around the country, how is that handled, given that you need to be licensed, I believe, in each state to do that?
Yes. So that is usually handled by where our companies, so we represent companies as a corporate law firm, where our companies' businesses are located. Okay. So we are a California law firm, but we have attorneys barred in a number of different states. And so long as we have an attorney who's barred in that state, that attorney can practice law as their license and can represent a company that's formed in that state. Most of the companies that we represent are Delaware entities doing business in California.
Yeah.
We have a large team of California barred attorneys. But yes, if we don't have an attorney barred in a certain state, then we don't practice law in that state. But business law and corporate law, there are, in terms of the types of clients that we work with, there are kind of a few places where those companies are formed. And so we tend to represent companies in those locations.
Yeah, because, there are a lot of growth. A lot of companies are moving out of Silicon Valley into Austin, Miami, Cleveland, Salt Lake City. And so, it's amazing to see how that transitions. But if anybody's tuning in here and they wanted to hire you to help them with something, they could reach out to you. Everybody see the email address at the bottom of the banner going by, info@cgl-llp.com, to inquire as to how you can help them, because we can vote with our dollars, folks. So if you want to support a law firm that has this incredible culture where they infuse humanity into everybody's life, i.e., I honor the fact that your life is fluid, and we really want your wonderful, delicious legal brain and acumen, but at the same time, we don't want it at the expense of your peace of mind and quality of life. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I prefer to work with a law firm that has that as their culture, right? Instead of, hey, you're going to get burned out here on your way to partnership.
Definitely. And we've seen that in terms of the services that our team can provide to clients. From my experience working in a big law firm, it was so overwhelming. You had so many clients. I mean, frankly speaking, I had a cheat sheet to remind me who was who, because there were so many. And you were just constantly shifting, project shifting from one to another. And I don't think that was, certainly for me, not the best focus. And we operate very differently here at CGL. Our team is not burnt out. They're very focused on our clients. They're able to get kind of deeper into that relationship, and they're sharp because they're not burnt out and they haven't been expected to be on calls at midnight. So I think that it really translates into the quality of service that we're able to provide our clients.
I love that, because you have to do what every business does. You have to decide, who are you going to serve, right?
Exactly.
And all of that. Well, let me just say Hannah has a quick question Hannah. Asia has a quick question for you, Hannah. Approximately how many people did you reach out to at first to gauge interest? And did you have a minimum and maximum client load that you had in mind to make it viable?
So I wish, if I'm speaking honestly, I wish that we were more organized at the beginning. When we take on new initiatives now, we do run that type of analysis. We say, how many clients do we think that we need if we're branching into a new area of business? At the beginning, we very much kind of adopted the idea of, let's just figure it out as we go. I think that attitude has proven to our success in many ways. You can overplan things. And Noem and I are very much like, let's try it and see what happens. And you've got to be prepared for the amount of times that we've tried things that didn't work. And we have to, be willing to let those go. But I think in terms of kind of prudent business advice, it's good to know those numbers. It's good to understand, how many clients you need to make it work, how much you need to work to make it work. I think that that's a piece that founders don't often think about, is what is the sacrifice that I need to make to achieve whatever goal it is I've set up.
Right.
And that's an incredibly important piece to consider before you dive into any new initiative.
That's right. I mean, Gary Vee is always saying, I'd rather be happy in my Toyota than crying in my Ferrari. Meaning you, the founder, has to decide what's important to you. And some founders are really clear when they bring folks on. Look, just put everything aside, your life, everything. We have got a 2-year run here. We have to make this happen. It's all hands on deck. And let us know if that's not a fit for you. And that's good transparency. But I know if they go any longer than 2 years, they're going to lose good people, because that is an insane culture. But it can be a culture. As a former .com owner, we saw that a lot in 98, 99, 2000, that sleep at the at the office, on the couch. And I remember getting interviewed by Wired magazine at the time and telling them, look, there's no way this can be sustained. This is not family friendly at all. I mean, I'm glad it's working for the 26-year-old male founder, right?
Yeah.
But nobody, and I had a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old, nobody can have that kind of traction and continuing as a culture if it's all hands on deck. And that's what I just love about what you're doing at your law firm, because it just sets a tone and it's a great representation for people to see. Olgie, hey, congratulations on your Kickstarter campaign. Woo! Good job. Olgie says, Ande, always happy to see you. Hannah, awesome job finding the balance between work and home. It can be challenging and overwhelming at times, so it's always good to find that equilibrium. Great job. Yay. Olgie has a heelless shoe sneaker technology sneaker, which is another mind-blowing product that's out there that is helping runners. Amazing product. So congratulations, Olgie. Now, when you started, corporate law has, just as you said, from entity to exit and everything in between. Did you focus then on the industry that you wanted? Did you want to work with tech? Did you want to work in biomed? Or were you just open to everything?
Well, so from an industry perspective, most of mine and Noam's experience was technology companies and working in Silicon Valley. We really grew organically. So as more business would come in, early on, we realized we were referring a lot of things out. Okay, we don't have the subject matter expertise to deal with that employment project, and we sent it out. And then we said, wait, why are we sending all this work out? Why don't we start to hire people that can do this work? And so that's really how CGL has grown, as there's been a need in the market, or we've had enough clients ask for a certain subject matter expertise piece.
Yep.
And we've hired to support that. Or we've had outside interest. So our third partner was a regulatory attorney who spent about 10 years at another big law firm doing FDA regulatory work. And she wanted to come into the cannabis industry and kind of work in doing some regulatory pieces there. And so she reached out to us and said, hey, this is of interest to me. Would you all be open to this type of practice area at your firm? And we said, sure, sounds great. That sounds interesting. So
Yay.
We've grown that way as well, with either outside attorneys who want to open up kind of shop with CGL, if you will, and service clients through that, or just clients demanding something different, and then us needing to hire the specialist to support that.
That's awesome. And of course, the cannabis industry comes with so much regulation. Oh my gosh. And do you have a patent attorney on board as well, or do you farm that out?
We do not. So we don't do any what I call like hard patents, so patent prosecution. We have IP attorneys. So we do a lot of commercial work for clients. So we can handle IP licenses and those types of pieces. But patent work, we do refer out. And we have a number of wonderful referral partners that we send out.
Yay. Yeah, just having the visual of the whole structure of everything you're doing. It sounds like a smoothly run machine, just saying. So now you've got this decision. We're going to have a healthy culture. Well, anybody in the service industry knows this. Sometimes you get some clients you need to fire. How do you make sure that your customer acquisition is around the lower drama and intense workload that will then, of course, meet your needs as a healthy culture founder?
Yes. So I would say transparency. So we, are very open with our clients about the type of firm that we are. Our model as well, I do want to clarify one thing, because some people kind of think, okay, these attorneys just must not work that much. And that's actually not the case. Our model is set up to service different types of clients and pair them with attorneys who have different work balance expectations. So we have some attorneys who want to work full time and be very available to clients. And those attorneys are paired with the clients that are more of that, not higher maintenance, but require a higher touch point.
Right.
So we're very transparent with clients about that from the beginning. I also, tend to clarify on pitch calls that if a deal is going on and it's, an emergency situation, our attorneys aren't expected to get on calls at midnight.
Right.
That's not the case necessarily at a big law firm. I mean, I was expected to be on calls in the middle of the night if needed. And usually when I raise that conversation with clients, they say, absolutely, that's fine. I would rather my attorney be sharp and well rested. So it goes both ways, I think. And we're very discerning with the types of clients that we bring in. It's a mutual respect. And I think in services and the service provider industry, it can be very easy to get caught up in well, I'm a service provider and I do everything for the client. And yes, I mean, as a service provider, we work very hard to provide high quality services to our clients, but also it's reciprocal in terms of the respect, and it's a very professional relationship. And so we make sure that we have those conversations with clients, and clients that value the quality that we're bringing are the types of clients that we want to build those longer term relationships with.
I love that. I just think that having that defined ahead of time makes it very easy to keep growing the business, because you know what kind of clients you're bringing in. You share that full transparency with them. Everybody understands the expectations from day one when they sign the engagement letter, and here we go. That's tremendous. Asia has another great question here. Hannah, do you offer different price tiers for individuals, startups getting started, to larger businesses?
So when we started, we had kind of more flexibility in terms of our pricing. We're still what I would consider a small boutique law firm. And so unlike a big law firm like Cooley, we don't have the ability to kind of float deferred fees. So and this is something that I speak with clients. So I do a lot of client pitches. And part of the initial kind of discovery call is, let's make sure that this makes sense for you as a client, like what you need. And we found that some of those clients that are really cost conscious in the early days might be better suited with a firm that does provide deferred fees. We're not able to do that at this time. I hope maybe one day we'll be able to do that. But right now, we're just quite honestly too small.
And that's totally understandable. And that's the smart thing to do. And it leads me to another question. This is something many founders struggle with, Hannah, which is pricing. What do we charge? You knew the ins and outs and the markup working at a large traditional law firm. How did you and Noem come up with your pricing structure?
So at the beginning, we very much underpriced ourselves, I would say. And I won't go kind of too into it, but I think that this has something to do with being women and services and things. And what we initially charged for our services. And then we started asking around, and we found that similarly situated firms like ours were charging sometimes double what we were. And we also realized that our initial price point was bringing in a certain type of client that maybe didn't always have that didn't necessarily value the sophistication of the services that we were providing. And so our price has constantly evolved. We're always figuring out different ways that we can be creative in pricing. So kind of to the earlier question, we do have certain flat fee packages for certain things that we're able to say, this costs a flat fee amount, it's not hourly. But pricing is always an evolving one. It's hard.
Yeah.
I feel like lawyers are incredibly expensive. It's hard for us to justify what our hourly rate is, yet we also understand the importance of it in a business to
That's right.
Hourly.
That's right. And you have to have some competitiveness in there with the pricing, honoring of the type of service that you're bringing. And then, again, what you said, which is so smart, is and so true, is the pricing matching the type of clients you want to bring in. And I know there are founders out there that are going, oh yeah, I know what that's about. Absolutely. Do you have a scaling strategy for CGL?
In terms of our growth as a business? Yes. We do. So, part of, so I kind of manage the growth side of the company. And what is so exciting to me about growth, and for me it's revenue, is not the revenue of, oh, money coming in the door. For me, revenue translates into people we can hire. And that means people's lives that we can change, people that we can start saying, your relationship with work doesn't have to be, this one size fits all. So growth is kind of at the foundation of my fire and my passion, because bringing in more revenue will allow us to support more hires. We have built out a strategy for hiring in terms of that. So, so one of the things that we figured out early on is having really solid financial support and understanding how to read your financials as a business. And then now from that, we've really kind of modeled out a plan to hire quite aggressively starting next year, and bringing on more people. And so all of that is kind of tied together of how the machine,
right. But
those fires and
everybody, you saw the spark. Yeah, I mean, the passion just lit you up when you start talking biz dev. You're like, this is what I'm about. And that's great. It's great to have that wonderful role and purpose and North Star for you in your business. I love that. So Josh has a great question. Are the majority of your new clients at this point coming from referrals, traditional marketing, or elsewhere?
Yes. So most are coming from referrals, and referrals is kind of the name of the game in the law firm world. We actually get a lot of clients from big law firms where we all worked. Clients that maybe just aren't the right size for that firm, or who are looking for a more cost-effective, similar services, but more kind of cost-effective. We are just starting, we're only about 4 years old, and we're just starting figuring out other types of marketing, so we have a podcast, we have a website, but we haven't really begun a lot of the traditional kind of marketing pieces. Anyone that has any guidance in that realm, please feel free to shoot me information. I'm always trying to learn and kind of wrap my head around that piece.
And it's a little hard right now for law firms. So here in Boston, a lot of them sponsor our events. I co-host a monthly pitch event, right? Okay. And so they show up with an in-kind, or, and then they get a chance to speak to the crowd and build their brand awareness. So coming on shows like this is really, really an excellent idea. And in getting the word out, and of course, having your podcast is a great way to get the word out and let people know. And there's certain types of digital marketing that can be very helpful. But I think in legal, like financial, you have a little bit of some constraints in how you advertise sometimes. So I know you will figure it out, because you and Noem are problem solvers extraordinaire for sure. But I had that question too, Josh. So I'm really glad that you asked that. And do you, because you're so bold and audacious to say we are about work-life balance, and what that means is some of you may want to work that 60-hour week on something that just lights you up, and someone else really wants to practice law and is really good, but they have constraints. How do you do the review process? Like, how did you set that up so you could get feedback from your team as to what works and what doesn't, to make you an even better and well-oiled machine where the culture is really pulled together onto the same initiative?
Yeah. So constant communication, I would say.
What does that look like?
Yeah. So we use something called EOS. It's the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's like a way that we run the business. And within that, we have various departments that meet weekly that discuss issues. Our culture is very collaborative and very transparent in terms of how we share things. So it's not a top-down type organization. I'd say we're very flat. And so that allows for, I think, just comfort and dialogue. But EOS has really proven just such a useful tool for our business in terms of how we address problems and tackle things.
I love that. Don't you love a good system that helps you? You don't have to reinvent it.
Exactly.
I'm already thinking about
key.
Pardon me?
Processes are key. Like, having solid processes in place has been instrumental to us being able to scale and grow and identify problems.
It is such my jam. Yep. I love the processes. So easy. And when you were talking about how you match clients with the attorneys, to the team members, I was thinking, there's got to be an app for that. something that you can just put in that information here and that, and then boop, up pops a
Yeah,
couple of names.
I wish. If someone invents it, let me know.
Oh, I'm going to say AJ. I know someone who would do that in a heartbeat. Okay. And so Josh is sharing that that's what his role is for the firm he works with, but personal injury marketing, I imagine, is significantly different.
Yeah.
I mean, the personal injury law has a really bad rap, ambulance chasers, all of that. And, you have to work, Josh, I imagine, on a more creative approach to get people. And I would think if a differentiator, this is just my Andy-licious advice on the side here, would be for personal injury attorneys to do something that's more empathetic and holistic and completely different than what we see advertised 24/7. That's a hard one to do. But I know that you and Noem will figure it all out on how you're going to scale. But I love that you have that in place and that you are building. I think you've come a long way over the 4-year period. What are you working on right now, other than marketing and scaling, that you have found is a little challenging, that perhaps someone here in the audience, and maybe we've already talked about it, could help you and add some wind to the sails? Because we're all founders. We love to open doors for the guests here on the Startup Life Live show and make their life easier. Share with us.
So first, everything that we're doing is incredibly hard. It's really hard to build a profitable business while also maintaining kind of the humanity side. So I want to clarify that it takes real passion and commitment to our mission to do that every day. We're doing it, but it's really hard.
Bravo. Big round of applause to you for being committed that way and figuring it out.
Well, and a particular area right now that I'd say is a big visionary goal that we have is, how do we really provide and create an incredible culture in a distributed work model? This is still a very new way to work. I think people have had a lot of very justified critiques, especially during COVID, and they've seen this kind of remote work and what it's like. And one, right now is not a normal time. So typically, even though we're distributed, we still see each other. We still do events in person. We still meet with clients. I think that there are certain things that in person is necessary for. And one of my passions in trying to figure out, and just a passion across the firm, is how do we build a beautiful culture in a distributed work environment? And it's not easy. And so anyone that is doing this, whether it's remote work or distributed businesses, any other founders that have any guidance on how they're handling this now during COVID, of course, but also just kind of bigger picture and more strategically, I'd love to talk to them and pick their brains of how they're building out a beautiful culture within kind of a distributed model.
Right. Yeah. So we had Vish from Sophia, SOPHYA dot, I don't think it's called AI. And he had a whole different business going on when COVID hit. He was part of the Harvard Innovation Lab. And he was creating really the Spotify for education, when he did and created a platform to address exactly what you're talking about. And he's a gamer. He's an MD, by the way. Left his ICU practice as a physician and went into ed tech, and then now this, because what he claims is missing, Hannah, in this fully distributed environment is things that you do together that you don't do because you're not in person. And so he's created this sort of fun platform where you can still maybe get some work done, do some things, but you're engaging in a way that you would engage if you were, hey, how you doing, as they're walking down the hallway.
Yeah.
So I'll connect you with him, but I know that we've got plenty of people who are, working on that themselves, or who are specializing in, because, this is the perfect opportunity to come up with a business model that addresses this issue for corporations. Because as we know, people aren't going back. All right. They're just not. And companies keep pushing off, and they're finding that people want to stay working remotely. It's more rewarding. I have, just some final 2 questions, but Asia has a quick one right here too. Can you share what inspired you to do law in the first place?
So to be honest, I didn't quite know if I wanted to be a lawyer or if I wanted to go to business school. So I always kind of had a passion for business. And I've shared a lot about kind of my personal journey on LinkedIn and a number of other places, which I'm happy to share. But for brevity's sake, I decided to pursue some law school applications kind of in tandem with business applications and see kind of what happened. And I got into Berkeley Law, which was an amazing opportunity. And I ran an analysis and thought, if I go to law school, I can always do business on the back end, but I will always have the law as kind of a backup plan. And that was really the reason that I chose to go. And I'm so grateful that I did. I learned how to think. I learned so many things and grew so much as a person through that experience. And that has really proven to be so helpful to me in all of the business work that I'm doing today.
That's wonderful. That's a great answer. Thank you so much. Of course, we're all going to go on LinkedIn now to find out what the backstory is, because brevity is good, but we're all curious minds. We all want to know. But thank you for that, Hannah, because that's, Asia, that was such a great question. I really appreciate you for asking that, because there's more to the story as to why we choose certain paths and why we move off certain paths. So I love that. And then finally, now that you've been an entrepreneur for 4 years, I'd love to know, how has this journey served you, both professionally and personally? Because it's my belief that entrepreneurship is the most incredible personal development program out there. And so how have you grown as a person, both personally and professionally?
Yeah. So one area I would say, and maybe this is professionally and personally, is since starting CGL, it's really empowered me to activate my creativity. So I would say that I am by nature more of a creative person. And working in corporate law, it was really hard to be very creative. And so as an entrepreneur, you get to constantly create. And I find great joy from that. So that really kind of stepping into that piece of myself. Also confidence building and empowering. There's a lot of failure that comes with being an entrepreneur. And the more you kind of fail and then reassess and solve different problems, the more confident you get to tackle different things. And that confidence and empowerment, I think, has been a huge value add. But yeah, I would say that those are kind of two areas that have really evolved for me, both personally and professionally. And I think that living more authentically to how you are, who you are, for example, me having the freedom to be more creative has taken a huge weight off of my shoulder. I feel I'm living very authentically, and that translates into my personal life. I feel more vibrant and alive and connected to my authentic self. And so I'm very grateful to the
That's wonderful
for that. Yeah.
That is so wonderful. And it allows you to be fully expressed. And then you can bring that joy and that expression to the creative problem solving that you're doing, which is, which is what we want. We want to really be able to tackle something that's really difficult and come up with the solutions. There's nothing better, right? When you find a solution to a problem that's been nagging away, and it required creative thinking. It required, you to bring all your lived experience to the problem. I love that. And Hannah, thank you so much for sharing this journey with us, because this translates not just into the legal world. It really is important for all businesses to understand that we do better when we understand what our employees need, and being able to have that great mix of those who really are very happy with a 60-hour week and those who want to be able to bring their best under the constraints of what they have going on in their life. And there may not be constraints. It could just be passions they're pursuing in tangent with their professional life and professional career. So I love that you have represented that a firm with some hard work and focused effort and great processes and systems can have a culture that infuses humanity into the process. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. It was great speaking with you.
Oh, it's great speaking with you. And congratulations on your baby girl arriving. Who knows? It could be today.
Could be any moment now.
Any moment now.
Not during our talk.
I know. I'm so happy for you and your family and your husband. Congratulations. And I know that you're going to have even more joy under around the table as you all grow together. So yay. But thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you.
All right. Oh my gosh, folks. Did we learn a ton about how to really, it's okay. It can work. You can be profitable by having a business that honors the human journey, right? And as Hannah kept talking about, the fluidity, what you're able to do today may not be that way next year, and knowing that you can still work and bring your best with a team in spite of the fact that you might be having some personal transitions in your life going on, or you just had to go climb Mount Everest, right? Yeah, that could be a passion that you need to do, but you want to come back and you still want to be part of your professional journey. It's just so delicious. I love these kind of stories. I'm so glad Hannah brought that up. Hey, guess what? Yep, this Friday on August 20th at 12 p.m. ET. It's woohoo! 100th episode of the Startup Life live show. And to help us celebrate this meaningful milestone is Jenny Lefcourt. She's an extraordinary entrepreneur, operator, board member, advisor, and investor. And she's been in tech for over 25 years. And she's currently the general partner at Freestyle, a San Francisco-based early-stage VC firm whose investments include Airtable, Intercom, Patreon, BetUp, Snapdog, Stitch, and others. But hey, this is what's really cool about Jenny, and that is two things. One, she's part of the founding group of women who created All Raise, which, as you know, is really about getting more diversity, especially female founders in and supporting them that are tech founders. And she's the founder of Wedding Channel during the dot-com bubble, right? 97, she left Stanford halfway through her MBA program to launch weddingchannel.com, which was picked up by The Knot in around 2004, I think. We'll get all the scoop from her. Then she had another great business that she jammed and had a great exit with after 6 years. And now she's an operator VC, investing in amazing companies. So we're going to be able to pick her brain and get all the scoop, not just from her startup stories, but investor advice, especially for you female founders. And we'll find out all about how Freestyle makes their decisions for investing in businesses. All right, folks, you know how grateful I am that you tuned in and upped your game. And I want you to remember, okay, little quote here from A.L. Milne and Winnie the Pooh, that you're braver than you believe and stronger than you seem. That's what this founder journey is all about. And as we say in Boston, wicked smarter than you think. So you keep staying focused, keep staying strong, keep upping your game. And I'm so grateful you tuned in and joined us today to hear Hannah's extraordinary startup stories. Wishing you a delicious day wherever you are. Mwah! Until next time, join us for the 100th episode on August 20th. See you then. Cheers.